explosion of startups happening. Right? That's what I said one of the slides, that YC has 1/4 of the startups have the code, 90% of the AI code, but there is another reality there is that most of those are not becoming successful. What I didn't cover is since ChatGPT came out, Y Combinator has a least success compared to all its previous years. They couldn't release any unicorn and big product, a big startup so far, like Airbnb, Uber, and all those things. That's pro and con is there. Many people are, as you mentioned to your question, right? If anybody can become a startup, and I encourage people should become a startup. If you have the experience, it's very easy to become start a startup and write a code end to end, right? Very easy. But you need to have a foundations, right? Thinking that AI will write everything, no. You have experience how to write enterprise applications and how to make things.
Yeah, and since AI is helping write software, right, so I was wondering if AI will be helping us to create tools for three-dimensional objects, meaning for hardware, because there's software and there's hardware both.
Yeah.
So just like AI is building software now, we'll be building software. Just like that, AI could be building hardware, customized, specialized hardware for any type of business, any type of problems. So I know that in China they have Shenzhen City that they really rapidly build hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a weekend they just build a hardware prototype. So I was wondering if any companies are working for tools that, like 3D printers or whatnot, that would be creating tools that would allow us to employ AI and build rapidly prototypes of hardware. Any business, medical, or scientific, or any type of research, 3D printing hardware, that kind of thing. I was wondering if anybody works on this.
I think two aspects in the 3D when you say hardware, right? In the hardware, the firmware part and the OS part, that is easy to use AI. But AI is still struggling at the main hardware and robotics, right? AI is good at mimicking our brain now than our motor skills. So if at all, if it becomes great at, it's going to replace definitely software engineers, not the plumbers and the hardware guys. So it still takes few more 50 years, 10 years. So the hardware part is, the challenge here is that how you prototype quickly, how to make the hardware, how you release it, how you test it is a difficult challenge. Versus a software is easy to do an exploration, the proof of concept, test it, and do it. That's the challenge.
Right, so maybe this is the future, like in the next 10, 20 years, we'll be moving to hardware.
There are many people trying to do AI generated research, AI helped research, both actually, not just hardware, I would say that material science, right? It's kind of, you say, hardware related. There are startups, many startups, they are using AI. And anyway, in the medical, the protein folding, they are using AI a lot.
Right, like printers, like 3D printers.
Yeah, that's people are already using it. Actually, I use 3D print for generating what kind of object you want to do it. That comes under software part. That we are using hardware 3D to print the 3D object, but it's easy to generate that image or anything, that 3D image using the AI tools is become very easy.
The question is, how does business get prepared with AI generated solutions and data, etc.? How do you prepare business to be able to start working with that information and be able to figure out whether the quality is delivered or not? How do you train business to get prepared?
As an end user or as a company developer?
As an end user.
Yeah, so that is not changed, right? So the end of the day, the product.
But I know, like you're saying, right? It's how intelligent you ask a question, right? For example, in your case of a brain tumor, if I'm not trained to ask the right question, I will get disastrous answers, right?
Yeah.
And if that is going to be the norm, how do I train myself?
Right. So, but in the business applications, the software has to go through the same life cycle, with the testing, ensuring security, all the compliance, everything. That's the problem to this question. That many people will come up with startups. There is already explosion of the people, right? And some people will be successful who will go through these processes, right? My business application has to go through all the process, not just put out there. And it's all. I think that problem is not going away. So we just still need to worry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravi. We'll have all the other speakers on the stage so that you can shoot your questions. And please make sure to push your chairs back, throw all the trash out, so that we don't add up more work for the reactor space. Yeah, that is nice.
It's in the end.
Yeah, at the end of the whole session, after we finish the question and answers of whatever you guys have.
A history of mankind with the paper as a base of the knowledge, and then all the way to ChatGPT. So question is like one simple question: do we need softwares anymore? Like
100%. You need more actually.
okay, like just like how the paper, right? Like people used to write on the paper, right?
Yeah.
They used to get paid for writing.
Yeah.
Are we gonna still get paid for writing the softwares? That's the thing always.
Yes, that's the nature of our evaluation, right? So anything that easily producible, even demand will go down, no doubt, right? But in every sector, there is always experts and exceptionally doing well. There is people who write too many books, but very few books are very popular, kind of thing. So comes to the fundamentals. You just use, and I will write any software like anybody else, or you know how to write a great software. Right? Actually, it's very easy to write a great software if you know the fundamentals of it.
Like calligraphic software.
Yeah.
Actually, let me give an example of that. Like, sorry, an example for I know that many of us might have worked in photography and done photography as a hobby, but I started with analog photography, and then when digital came in, I was, oh my gosh, this is not real photography. Everything has to be like analog is the right thing. You need to know. And then mobile phones came out, and everybody has a camera now. And now we have more photographs than less photographs, and we have more good photographers. Like you have 10 photographers. Like the photography business is booming rather than at night, and you have social media and everything. So you have a lot more photographers than less photographers. Just think of that as an analogy, and that's what AI for me is.
Your question is, are we going to phase out everything? We don't know how it is going to be. When the predictor is out, there is so many people required to validate what writer is writing, because press is putting out books very fast. The proofreader, the editor, so many other roles even I don't know came out. So if AI write the software, who will going to test it? Who will make sure it is working? Who will make sure it is integrating better? And all those things.
Thank you.
So Ravi, thank you so much for the presentation. It was awesome. I have a quick question for you. You know, in China they have this app called WeChat. It's like a super app. Like they live on WeChat, like they communicate, they make payments, they book hotels, cars, everything on WeChat, right? Do you think America would ever have a super app? Like, if yes, when do you think that can happen? If not, what are some of the issues that you see with like a super app coming to America? Thank you.
It's a very big question. Depends on the society, how the companies need control and all those things. There is reasons this big one app. I can't say how in America, but we don't need now actually. There is other, I didn't talk about it, this one is the SLM, small, lovable and complete. In the future we will write apps. Everybody here will write apps and share if you're going for some excursion. Earlier we are using the notepad shares and SharePoint pages and things. Now you will you create an app just for that tool. You share it, everybody use it, and trash the app. There is no more app is there. So I know your question is like we will have a big app that is then. I don't know whether we need it.
I'll just put one part and maybe other parts you can add it. You mentioned about in Microsoft, like Satya mentioned that 30% of the code is happening through the Copilot and all that. So
Disclaimer: I'm not representing myself.
yeah, so
Perfectly
fine.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to know your kind of your experience, but while working with your team, where do you see yourself or your team achieving the automation code, test automation? To what extent do you think still you are able to achieve through the Copilot or the kind of AI solution? Because I do see people are, you're right, coming in startup, they're rolling out so fast, but how does the integration or the automation test will evolve to ensure that you can save a lot of time there?
And then for part B, I would like to know, it's very similar when it comes to the accountability, the transparency, and even the boards. Who's actually overseeing all of these products that are being made by AI, and how we're making sure that the testing is actually done.
So on the part A, I just gave my recent example. A is doing phenomenal job, right? I did my hackathon recently, 2 months back. That's where actually I fell in love with this live coding. I was like, oh, I'm experienced software, I can do anything. I review thing, but I want to try it out. So I participated in this hackathon. You don't believe the previous night I was laying down on my sofa. I knew the problem statement. I opened the voice mode in ChatGPT. I was just chatting with it. This is my problem statement. First start the requirement. Started requirement. I slowly in next 1 hour I expand the requirement into text document. Expand schema. I know my experience how the communication has to be there between APIs and how the testing need to be done, how many test cases I need. I define everything just laying down on my sofa. Next morning I said, okay, this is great, let me see how the vibe coding works, right? And I put checks and balances, how my code need to be. I think, I don't know how many people here participated in hackathon. Nobody write test cases and all those things in hackathon. I wrote 250 test cases because that's the only way to verify my code is working. So software industry compared to any other generative application, big challenge there in the industry, testing, because it's a probabilistic system. It's not a deterministic system. And the biggest problem in the Gen AI application is how you make sure your application is working better. That's not the problem in the software because it is evolved so many years. We have testing frameworks. Testing frame is your evaluation of your software. So in this hackathon, I wrote 250 test cases, and my product is like working with like 100 classes, integrations, APIs, so many layers. It's amazing. As I don't think I will never do for a hackathon.
Thanks for sharing. So one more question I have for you. Since you mentioned, and then everybody knows about a lot of startups are coming, and a lot of them would be failed because I see majority of the startup, they think, just adding a chat kind of thing, integrating to their thing, that's going to solve a lot of problems. But I believe this is just kind of a piece of it. So what's your advice? Like, because I'm kind of thinking to do something in startup kind of thing. So what would be your advice for the startup, like, where you think they can be more successful using the AI solution other than what is happening in the trend-wise?
For our part B thing.
So many questions over here.
Yeah. So I think the product development and business, the overseeing is not going away. The only thing is coming here is the fast and speed of software generation. That's the only changing with the help of AI. We still need skillful software engineers who understand the systems very well, the overall ecosystem of software lifecycle and developing. And that monitoring and everything still there, all that piece is as it is, that is not going away, but it's accelerating the speed.
But do you think that adding a lot of into building an agent that can also solve this problem? So you just kind of have a lot of tools available
like agent start and we just make it available, that we build all this kind of agent kind of the orchestration
Yes.
to solve such kind of problems.
So human in the loop is not going away anytime soon. That's I would say, at least my opinion. A program manager will do his job faster. A CEO will do his job faster. A compliance person will do his job faster with the help of these agents. It's not that agent going and do everything and replace and do things. No, that takes time. To his question, how the client and business people believe in your software. We already seeing, I'm part of a couple of customer calls. The question comes is that how I can believe this is doing right. So it takes time to sort of society adaptability, and which systems are not there yet. I definitely see it, right. The biggest challenge, actually, easiest thing is writing the software. I see it. It's the best tool out there. But business problems using GenAI still is a big challenge. Business always asks question, what is the guarantee that it is supposed to work the way it's supposed to, always deterministically, whereas GenAI is a probabilistic system.
Thank you.
I want to add to that. You know, we have seen so much of evolution in technology, but still, if you look at the major banks and all that, they still believe in the mainframe data. You know, that just to you see that.
COBOL sellers have risen.
Yeah, COBOL is still there. All those are not going away any day. So, so that's not going away in the age soon.
Same thing with you, somebody that's technology. I would like to know your thoughts on this particular topic, how you are bringing all this into your work.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a raised hand here. Maybe let's go first and then I'll answer.
Actually, that's what actually probably in your view also will be aligning very well to see, like in a fintech, how, because just gentlemen asked for the banking and all that still mainframe, how does that kind of AI is going to play some role there? Yeah, sorry.
So I'm part of our platform team. I'm also a test automation engineer. So we are using a Playwright from 2020 when Playwright got started in Microsoft. So I created an in-house framework which is used by 40 different teams in our platform. And using my framework, we wrote 14,000 test cases. So my framework is running 14,000 test cases that covers 40 products. So earlier all these test cases were wrote by our vendor teams. So I created a new tool, MCP server, where you can simply give a natural language instructions. It will write a complete end-to-end web integration test case. It will authenticate your product. It will write a complete test case the way you want, based on your design patterns. It will get a pull request also, it will check in also. That complete flow is I have automated. Plus the other problem is you wrote a test cases and it will become stale and flaky over time. Because your product will keep on changing and you have to keep on improving your test case also. So I wrote another tool which is a custom reporter. If test case fails, it will pick up the error description. It will automatically get a prompt, send a prompt to an engine. It will create a fix for you. It will create a 2 MB files. You will be suggesting okay, these are the issues. And this was the code where it was failing. It will get another solution which will have a complete fix. It will take a full request also and it will check in also. Again, like you were saying, there should be a human involved there. So you can again break those steps. Once test case has been generated, you can review that test case, you can run locally. Okay. If pull request got generated, you can again review the particular code again and you can approve it and then you can check it. But a complete now flow is available in our Microsoft. We are doing end-to-end test automation using the NL, so we call it NL2 test, natural language 2 test.
So probably then you covered some part of it, like so indirectly you already implemented agentic kind of flow. So it's a recursive.
So it's indirectly we are getting the MCP servers. MCP server is nothing, it's a function call, so it's indirectly we have to write a tools for each operation. When I get into a website, you are clicking a particular button. You're taking a snapshot, so you have to write out all those tools. generating a code from a test run, again you have to write a code for that. Authenticating a particular server, you have to again write a code tool for that. You want to use an email or password for authentication, you want to use a certificate for authentication, so you have to write all those tools. Again, creating a topic branch, pushing your change to a topic branch, creating a pull request, again you have to write all those tools. You have to write tools, but you have to tell AI how to write those tools. So that's what you require, that foundation.
Thanks for sharing.
And not only that, it will generate a test, but whether that test case is reliable or testable again or not, that's another question. Whether AI will be generating a proper reliable test case for you or not. For that again, you have to give a detailed instruction to AI to write that particular test case for you. You may be following a particular design pattern in your org for a test case, then you have to give those patterns also to us.
If you want me to jump in a little bit, thank you for sharing that, very helpful. I just want to react to the question that the gentleman over there asked first about AI usage and the role of software engineers. The money is going to be solving problems, right? Whether you use AI tools or you solve it in a different way is going to make all the difference. So right now, I was just chatting offline with some of the folks here that in my company, Vex, we have set up some goals for increasing the product innovation velocity. And our goal is to, spend half the time in solving problems that we do today. And we're using tons of different AI tools. And I want to go back to the testing stuff for a second here. Every month we do a monthly technology review, which my teams bring in and tell me, hey, here are the things we've developed. Here are the highlights, lowlights, here are my metrics, my services, and here are the code coverage numbers, the CIC numbers. And the code coverage numbers for one of our systems was staying around 60-62% month over month, because the team was adding new code all the time and they were not able to catch up with all the test cases. Then we use Cursor as well as Copilot with the GPT-4, Cursor with Sonnet 3.5, at that time now 4.0 is also out. We generate test cases based on the existing test cases as well as based on the requirements we had. And then we were able to get to 85% code coverage numbers within a couple of days. And this would have taken months to get to 80+% code coverage if I had just continued on the same path. So you have to understand what problem you're trying to solve. And the AI tools now are getting more and more mature to solve those problems and inject that code. And sure, the governance, somebody has to watch over the code that is generating. Sometimes it's not only it's generating wrong code, it actually is creating extra code that you don't need. So you also have to trim that. Which also goes back to the philosophical subject of prompt, quote-unquote, engineering. How do you write your prompt to find the things that you actually want and then trim out whatever the fluff is. So yes, just to summarize my thoughts on AI, I recently spoke at API Days to talk about how to use AI tooling to do API development, from the requirements to open API spec generation, from writing code as well as testing the code, deploying the code. All of that stuff was done within a couple of hours for a particular problem that I gave, which was for interview management tool, which is something I was building in my company myself. So yes, you have to understand what problem you're trying to solve and work backwards from the problem and then utilize the tools. And senior engineers or even junior engineers will be able to get stuff done in less than 10% of the time. And I will remind you about a 2005 quote from Bill Gates when I used to work at Microsoft. He said that in the next 10 years, people will be able to write code with 10% of the effort using the Visual Studio and all the other tools that are available. And then now you are in a state where you will be able to write 10% of the code yourself, and the rest will be machine generated, and then you'll be able to get the work done. So we are increasing our efficiency at an exponential rate of sorts, and it's a very good point that you're making about human soul being there, and so being able to watch over the stuff that's being generated. But yes, we do want to go back to the point that you made earlier about speed. You will be able to get done the stuff within much lesser time and innovate for the customers.
I have a question for Sumit. Little bit technical question. I've been in the teams where there are like fragmented teams, totally siloed, and they get together using the federated kind of a model, using GraphQL thing. If we were to use the OData, like would you recommend using OData but in the federated manner, or the teams which require that kind of federation still stick with the GraphQL?
You actually can use, that's a really good question, kudos to you for that. You can use federated model for OData as well, and I'll give you two examples. In my company, we have a data team that's generating OData queries on top of a data lakehouse they're creating. And they're only providing the data that we actually need. So I work in the mobility business, so I have access to mobility data. I don't have access to health data, because we also have a department called Health and Welfare. Now, the benefit of OData is that you can split your teams to work on certain entities only. One team only works on, let's say, the customer entity, and then they only work on all the OData plumbing for customers, and also the related entities that are to customers. But not something that I don't have access to, won't get that. Because OData also allows you to do some aggregation and joins using the query itself. But that's where the federation will allow me to only look at the data I'm allowed for, otherwise I'll get a very friendly message, error message back from the user. I think it's a very good idea that you have in your question itself to split the access or federation of access using what we should see or should not see, and then craft the teams accordingly as well.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of probability or certainty of AI, in this case Copilot or what's the percentage of accuracy? Is it possible to have technology that will, if it will give you percentage, if it's not sure, then you say, hey, I'm not sure, this is probably 80% or 90% accuracy in answer, in generate answer. That's one question. And another question would be about, do you know what companies are creating the best models for scientific research or scientific work? The models will need to be trained on scientific data that will be very, very accurate, like mathematical equations that would be like close to 100% certainty. Because, when you train models on World Wide Web, which is probably 90% hallucination from people, people just start output and whatever, which is not true. So do you know companies that, or maybe Microsoft is working on models that would be as possible to 100% accuracy?
The 100% is a
There was a question because he wants to understand which particular model we provide.
Question.
The fundamental physics, right?
I got you. I think you want to repeat the question, right? Yeah. So the first, the two parts question here. First question is about the hallucination and how you evaluate the output, right?
Yeah.
I think if I understand correctly, that's the first one. The second one is that is there any model that 100% accuracy?
I don't think we have 100% even now.
Correct. We can say 99.9%. Maybe people will say 100%. They don't agree. But first part, it depends on business problem. Actually, if anybody start the startup, start the how to evaluate your Gen AI application. That is the biggest problem for anybody writing the Gen AI application today, right? But I'm working in a finance domain. I want 100% accuracy. If there's 10 million, if Gen AI put another zero, it becomes 100 million. I don't want to tell my client you got 100 million profit, right? And they are not good at numbers. So I cannot compromise. They're dependent on Gen AI. I take Gen AI help and I have to do deterministic software systems when it involves numbers, when it involves medical diagnostics somewhere, right? But there are applications that are less risky. It depends on the customer client. 80% is good. Then there is various techniques available out there. How we make sure it is 85% coming up always consistently accurate. You cannot get 100%. These are definitely probabilistic systems, right? So if you want 100%, you have to go to deterministic system for sure in the current way. With the help of AI, there is various ways. For example, you understand what customer want, his intention, his style, and then you take the action using a deterministic system, right? The navigation, understanding become a dynamic here. That's where the AI helps you. On the model 100%, I don't think we are there, but just to give you some teasers, recently Google released a alpha, I think evolve. If anybody noticed, I was very much, then I saw that, they didn't announce in the IO, but they released it in blog, alpha evolve. It is evolving and doing the scientific research. I think it's the first time it solved a new algorithm. It solved many algorithms. So far, humans are the one doing. To give you one example out of many, the big matrix, I think 5 by 5 matrix, the minimum number of steps, if you do normal way, goes to the 100 steps or 70 steps. And somebody in the scientists made it 36 steps is the minimum you can do. And the alpha evolve came and say you can do by 35 algorithm steps. I was like surprised. This is the first time model is telling scientifically you can reduce the steps, right? So we are evolving. It's not 100%. That's what I want to say. But future we don't know.
Yeah.
I think.
Just a little bit to add to that, yeah. So when if you've done machine learning algorithms a long time ago, you measure your performance using precision and recall. Precision is how accurately you're able to predict something or classify something, and recall is if you use the different data, then will it also give you the same results or not? So hallucination is just a fancy word of saying how wrong you are, right?
Yeah.
So it's just wrong. So in order to get to 100%, that means you have to use a deterministic model, but not a predictable or generative model, right? So that will make all the difference in your creativity of this model if you're using a predictable or data-driven model. So maybe you will use AI to do something that doesn't use any heuristics to get 100% accuracy. But if you want to use generative AI that actually uses different data sets to and splits it into different tokens and then predicts and generates new stuff, then if you're not anywhere close to 100% accuracy at the moment. Yes, there's a question over there. Over to
I noticed, and we are done with because 8 o'clock reactor closes. She's there for long, so we need to. But one last question on Ayurveda, because she's here. This is one question that I want everybody to hear as an Ayurvedic practitioner. In your experience, what kind of foods immediately calms, because that's one of the things that in this busy life everybody is so stressed and running. With that particular experience, do you think, I know Sattva and Raja, Tamo, Gunas are there are foods that are directly proposed to you. So from a food perspective, is there something that you wanted to give your unfamiliar insight, and then we can completely conclude. And I request to everyone, put all the trash, everything, and close and push the doors when you're with chairs and you're done. Thank you.
Okay. So basically, Ayurveda is very individualistic. So all of us are unique. So what calms us down might not be the same as what calms the next person. So just like what you eat, sometimes it causes issues for you, but not to the other person. So it's very individualistic. But there are sattvic food is kind of something that is not spicy, right? Like the spicy and the pungent foods, and the too sour or too salty foods are not the ones that will calm down when you are actually in stress or kind of want to calm down. So eating a balanced meal with all the different tastes is what I can say. So I can't say, okay, eat this food, this will calm you down. I can't say that, so unfortunately. So it is something that is not spicy and pungent. Yeah. So something that is balanced with all 6 things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.